Let's start the implementation of our first microservice and define the endpoints. To create a Spring Boot project, we need to go to start.spring.io and we give the group name D2D and artifact ID is Retail Bank and a brief description of our project. And we can select Java 11 and add few dependencies. First, we add Spring Web, then Lombok. Okay, these dependencies are enough for the time being. Rest of the dependencies we will add when we need it. And we just click generate this project. This will download a zip file. Just open and unzip this one. And copy it into your workspace directory. So for me, let me take it to my workspace directory and I can paste it here. Now let's open the project from IntelliJ and click on open. I can go to the folder and select the pom.xml, open and open as a project. So it will open our project as a Maven project. So let it open. Let me close this folder now. It will take some time for IntelliJ to configure the project. So let's wait for some time. And that's it. Our project is ready. Let's look into the pom.xml quickly. It has the Spring Boot starter web, Lombok. That's fine for the time being. And to use Lombok, we need a particular plugin in IntelliJ. This is the Lombok plugin. So you need to install this plugin, otherwise we may get error in IntelliJ. And Lombok is used to avoid some boilerplate code that we can use this getter and setter just with the annotation at the rate getter and setter, then all argument construction, etc. And we go to the resource, delete these two folders. It is not needed for us, and rename the application.properties to application.yml. You can use properties also, but I prefer to use YML because it allows me to write a few less lines of code. And here we define the server port. Let me give the port as 8001 and our application name. And give it as Retail Bank Manager Server. So I can give it Retail Bank Account Service. Now we create a project, a package called controller. So let's create a packaged controller now. Within this, our controller class. This controller class will contain all the REST endpoints. So we give the name account controller. And to annotate it with @REST controller, so that Spring Boot will know it's a REST controller and handling the REST request. Now within this, we define our REST endpoints, and we shall define our REST endpoint which will support the post, put, get and delete. So first we do the post mapping. Post mapping is used when we want to create a new record in our database. So I give this name create new account. Create this method. It will be a response entity, and let's say it returns a account response. We give the method name can be any method name. It does not have any relation with the post mapping. We can give any method name. And here we define a request body that will take the inputs, and we can give the name of this as a, say, account details. Account details. Now let me return null to avoid now let's give return null and quickly create those classes. We create it within the package, create it within the package response, and there we create the class. Okay, and for the time being we declare some properties, but if we need we'll add more properties on that as we progress and when we implement the JPA and store the data into the database. So currently I add a private field called message, and here I need to give few annotations. These are all Lombok annotations. This is for getter, setter, and instead of that I would prefer to use @builder. So I use builder. That's it. And okay, there is some unused dependencies, unused import. And to do this we can make some changes here. Let's look for import. Go here and I can select optimize import on the fly. So there it will remove the unused import automatically. You don't need to do it explicitly. Similarly, now we have created the account response. We create a new package, DTO, data transfer object, and there we create the account detail class. Within this, let me declare few variables: private, string, user or customer first name. I can give user first name. Similarly, user say last name. Private string, I can give the address, and let's define private string phone number, and obviously I need to give the account number. I can give string account number. I think this is fine as of now. If we need more properties, we'll add it later. And I define the getter and setter. So these annotations will add getter and setter method automatically. Lombok will take care of that, and I'm giving @builder. So that's fine. And my controller class is created. Now actual implementation of those endpoints we shall do when we integrate this with Spring Data JPA and store our data into the database. But as of now, I just keep some dummy implementation or placeholder implementation. Our main objective is to demonstrate API, gateway, service registry, all these things. After that, we'll get back to the JPA and implement all these methods. And yeah, I have created a build, and let me arrange it a bit. Here we can declare this one. So from Java 9 onwards, you no need to declare give the data type. You can just give it var compiler will automatically take care of it. Say suppose it is taking it as an account response. Now we return a response entity. Within this, I can return HTTP status. Okay. Okay, followed by body, and within body it is the account response. So that's fine for the, I can select account response. So that's fine for the time being. We have implemented our post mapping, and actual code we shall implement at later stage. Now, yeah, that's okay for the post mapping at this point. So we prefer along with this message you should return some account information. So let's add, so we need the account details information. So we add a property account details also here. Now let's get back to our controller, and here it is fine. At this point we will take care of all this at later stage. So we just build our response, and now we create our getter methods. Now we create the get mapping. Get mapping is used when we would like to retrieve some data from the database or from the application. So here we are trying to get all the accounts, and I quickly define our variable. It is response entity, and here we give the account response followed by the method name get all account. We don't need to take any parameters because it will return all the accounts. And now since we need to return all the accounts, so we just create a list property also here, list of account details, and it will return account details list, all the account details. That's it. Now we can go here and we again do the same thing. We create an account response, and here we just change that get all account development is in progress. This is a placeholder, and as I told, we shall replace this code with the actual implementation at the later stage. So this is fine, our get all account at this point. Now let's quickly implement how to get an account based on the users or users first name. Now we implement another get mapping that will fetch the account details based on a particular customer name. So we give this method a get mapping. So we give a get mapping get account for what we can do for customer name, or get account for customer, and it will be the same thing. We copy it from here and get account for customer, and here we need to take a parameter. So we'll use request param, and it should be the customer name. So let's define it. A customer name and a string customer name. So whatever the parameter we will pass in our get request URL, it will be stored in the customer name string. We can read it from this customer name, and just write that get account development is in progress. Yeah, as of now it is fine. Now we create a put mapping where we'll do update account. Put mapping is used when we would like to update some data, some existing data which is available in our database or in our application. So again, I can give update account, and I need to take the account that I need to update. For that, we'll use request body, and it will be account details. Okay, now we can repeat the same thing. During this actual implementation time, for this account details, we'll pick up the account from the database. Then we will make the necessary update in this Java object and store the updated data, but we'll do it at later stage. Yes, I missed the account details. And now we write our final methods, which is the get delete mapping. So delete mapping is used when we try to delete some data from our database. So it will be the same only as the post mapping. We can take this one. Instead of update, let me rename it as delete. In this delete method, we shall get the account number from the account details. Based on that, we search into the database, pick up the account, and then we shall delete this account. We will implement it later stage when we implement the Spring Data JPA. So as of now, for this particular, at this point, we have defined all our endpoints, and it looks good for us. It's working perfectly. And yeah, there is no compilation error and all. It's looks good for the time. So as of now, we have defined our endpoints. Actual implementation we shall do when we write the Spring Data JPA and store the data into the database. But for the time being, this is fine. Our endpoint is defined, and we can see whether these are working and we are getting the expected response. So let me run mv install -d skip test. See, ideally we should do the test driven development, but here the main focus is to demonstrate the basic building block of microservice and how to write microservice endpoints and all these things. So intentionally we are not writing any JUnit test cases. I shall come up with a separate series where we shall demonstrate how to write the JUnit for Spring Boot microservices. Now my build is successful, and let's run the application. Okay, there is some warning because I believe it is using Java 13. So let me stop. And we go to project structure, and there I change the JDK to 11. Yeah, 11 should be fine. And okay, let me stop and let me run it again. So our application started properly at the port number 8001. Let me make a small change here. I use a request mapping also. So our REST endpoint will be whatever we mentioned in the request mapping, that is say retail bank / create new account or get all account, like that. So always it should be prefixed with retail bank. Let's quickly run this again. It's fine. Now let me try whether it is working. Oops, I missed one thing. I missed the retail bank, so let me give the retail bank and try it again. Yes, So our application is working perfectly and it is showing the message that we are returning. So as of now, this is fine. We developed our REST controller, and in the next session, we shall add Swagger documentation for the API endpoints that we have implemented in this session. So till then, see you in the next session. Thank you. Thanks for your time.